Introduce your training partner.
This is my daughter, Isabella Mir, Feared Lady Mir. My cornerman on Friday night, one of them.
Really?
Yep.
That's very good. I mean, you've been a part of some of the biggest fights in history, fought the greatest names, but I mean, grappling on the beach with your daughter and all this. I mean, is this a special moment for you?
It is. Look, I mean, I've accomplished great things in my life to this point. A lot of people would say, hey, you've done enough. Why risk hitting the head anymore, or going out there and taking losses? And it's not why I began to fight with anyways. I love martial arts, and it's a passion for me. It's my religion. And now my children, and right now Bella, the heaviest, has that same passion. So it's something now that, once I knew she was gonna be a fighter, I started preparing myself. Last December is when it hit me. I'm like, oh shit, this is happening. I was just over 300 pounds. Now I'm in the 240s. I've lost 60 pounds in a year. It took time. Lost 30, 40 pounds before the Fedor fight. Lost another 20 pounds since then. But I realize now I'm a role model to my child. And I think people say that, and we say those words. I said those words before. But was I really being a good example? And so now, the way I eat, the way I train, I try to be a better example to her. And really, she's an inspiration to me. I had a kind of not a weird, but it was like an aha moment. A couple weeks back, I was sitting there, and I think everybody searches for some existential reason for why they're here in life, And if there is a purpose for it, I realized I wasn't born to be Frank Mir. My accomplishments are a footnote in a book that's much larger. I was here to produce my children. They're truly the superstars, the prophets, My daughter, I will be known as the father of Isabella Mir more than I'll be known as Frank Mir before it's all said and done.
It's intriguing because I was going to ask, this matchup, I wondered, how is Frank Mir getting up for this matchup? No disrespect at all to your opponent, but, again, you're coming off a fight with Fedor,
Yeah.
How do you get up for it? It sounds like it doesn't even matter who's on the other side.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because the person that I'm battling is me, and so it's a constant, fight every day. I think my coach was pissed at me because Monday we came in, I had a shitty workout. I was in my head screaming at myself, just angry because I want to be able to turn it on at will. And I've had a phenomenal camp, the best one I've ever had in my career. Carl Prince is a new addition to my training, very much into physical preparation and health. There's times I've came into practice and we don't train. He looks at me and goes, no, we're gonna roll, stretch, do activation. We're not hitting a pad. You're not gonna grab anybody. Your hip's not lined up, or your back or your knee, or nope. And I never had that before. Yeah, people talk a big game, but once again, not coaches that actually sit there and go, well, this is my wheelhouse. It's like, well, it's not my wheelhouse, but it's what you need. If I can't provide it, we'll find somebody who can. And so that's helped me massively. And so for me to have a bad day of training, it's just another eye-opener, I guess. I am human. And it made me angry. The only thing that actually broke me out of it was Carl. He said to me, would you talk to your daughter the way you're talking to yourself right now? I'm all, you're right, I wouldn't. You know what I mean? I'm much harder on myself, I think. But it wasn't the correct way to coach. Even though it was harder, it wasn't necessary. Sometimes there is a purpose for that. But it did much better now.
Can you talk about the realization that you're okay with your daughter fighting? Because, you've lived this game, you've lived this sport, you know how tough it is, and I don't think anybody wants to see their kid get punched in the face, right? But it sounds like at this point, you're not thinking if she does it or if she wants to, you're saying she's going to.
Yeah, it's happening. I think we'll probably get her some fights in the, hey, Princey, the World Championships maybe this summer, you think? Bahrain, the Amateur World Championships. So, look, is fighting inherently have a little bit of danger? Absolutely. My son's Cage specifically right now has a phenomenal talent for football. I'm terrified of football. I didn't want my kids to play football. I tried to get them to play baseball. She played football too. She goes and starts on the freshman football team over at Gorman for the boys. But worse than, I have friends that are in the medical industry, and they try to scare me. Oh, your children this and that. I'm like, what's worse than that? Destroying their soul. Do you know what I mean? Do I want to break my daughter's soul, take the light out of her eyes, as my wife so eloquently put it? When I try talking her out of fighting, it's almost like I'm asking her to cut her fingers off. You know, is there a chance that she's gonna have her nose moved over or get some teeth knocked out? It's fighting. I'm sure it's gonna happen. There'll be a night that after the fights, win or lose, I'm gonna be in the back of the hospital watching her get stitched up. It happens, you know what I mean? John Jones, most dominant fighter of the world, I see him get his toe almost ripped off in a fight. It happens, man. But telling her that she can't follow her dreams would be a much worse death.
Well, you're okay watching her fight. How was it for you watching your father fight? I mean, because the same thing could happen. You could be getting, you know, messed up.
It was definitely nerve-wracking because it's your father and like you care about him so much, but it's also like a learning lesson. Like if he does something right, then I practice that move like 100 times because like I want to do better and like I want to prove what I could do in fighting as much as he does all the time. So like just kind of practice when he fights, and yeah, it does get nerve-wracking a lot, but in the end you love him and he's always going to be there for me. So
that was another factor for me putting her in a corner to talk about how did I get it for Javier Ayala. Look, Javier Ayala's explosive. He has his talent to him, you know. He really does. Does he have a lot of holes in his game? He does. Obviously, his grappling is an area that, you know, it's no secret. I'm going to try to put him in that area and see how he responds. But that being said, I mean, Sergey Karakanov is a much better striker than Javier Ayala. They fight each other 100 times. You can't get me to bet on Javier Ayala in that fight. They fought. Javier Ayala turned his lights off. He put him into seizure. He landed that big fucking right hand, you know? So that's nerve-wracking. You can't sleep on this guy. So I was like, what can I do? I'm like, I bet you if I had my daughter in the corner, and now let's see if you're going to whoop my ass in front of my child. I've actually thought about it, and I'm like, we'll wait till after the fight, because if something bad happens, I don't want to be held accountable that I premeditated it, but he better be careful.